These are creepy TikToks that will make you rethink your whole reality.
I am going to share a sound recorded by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, called Julia. Pictures from NASA's Apollo 33A5 mission show a large shadow swaying through the southwest section of Cape Codre. Those pictures, which are still classified, apparently provide information suggesting that this unknown shadow was twice the size of the Empire State Building.
Proof that 9/11 was an inside job. When the Twin Towers came down on 9/11, many people thought that there were only 2 buildings destroyed. But if you search up Building 7, there is a completely different story.
This is how we learned how long a head can survive without a body. At this time, the guillotine was a really popular way of punishment in France. And in 1905, a French doctor, I'm so sorry if I butcher this, Dr. Beauriot, wanted to figure out just how long a head could survive once it was...
I'm back, it's your boy Fittie to the E, and today we're looking at these strange videos. Just make sure to watch to the end because it gets crazier as we go down. If you like the chain, check the link down in the description. As y'all know, Christmas is coming up. You might be able to give your Christmas gift to one of your friends or family.
Is this proof that 9/11 was an inside job? When the Twin Towers came down on 9/11, many people thought that there were only 2 buildings destroyed, but if you search up Building 7, there is a completely different story. Well, you see, footage from the tragic accident shows a controlled demolition of Building 7 as the Twin Towers were crashing down. Furthermore, when we dig a little deeper, we'll see that Building 7 was owned by Larry Silverstein, the same guy that the insurance companies just so happened to pay $4 billion to because of the attack. Was Larry Silverstein just the luckiest man alive?
I did not know that someone got paid $4 billion in insurance just because one of the buildings collapsed. It is kind of strange because I've heard about this theory many times, and I heard that the way that the planes hit the building is almost impossible for the building to collapse like that. And yeah, Building 7 didn't get hit either, so that's weird how that also collapsed. How all 3 of them collapsed when one didn't even get hit at all.
The following footage was captured by a man named Danny as he attempted to document the terrifying haunting in his home.
Yo, he didn't even move. So something scary coming towards you, and you're just gonna sit there and just like, oh my god, there's something scary coming at me, oh my god, and just record it? Nah, I think that's a lie.
This photo is terrifying, but not for the reason you think. Sure, it does look like Abraham Lincoln is giving his wife a back massage from the afterlife, and that is spooky. But this woman here, Mary Todd Lincoln, was into some really witchy stuff and is the reason that the White House is haunted. Let me explain. And before we dive in, tonight's episode is all about hauntings of the White House, so you don't want to miss it. So when the Lincolns were in the White House, their youngest son, Willie, died of typhoid fever. He was only 11 when he died, and Mary, who was already suffering from mental health issues, was inconsolable when he died. And in her grief and desperation, she started holding seances in the White House. At first, they were harmless. She would just conjure the ghost of Willie, whose ghost actually still haunts the White House today. But then they started getting out of control, and Mary was calling all sorts of ghosts into the White House. Guests would hear stomping and swearing come from nowhere. One person said they even heard Andrew Jackson playing the violin once. And the White House stayed haunted after she stopped doing these seances. When William Howard Taft was president, his aides said that they were being tormented by a ghost they called the Thing. And one woman who thought she saw it actually said it looked like a young boy. So when you see this photo, it may look like a gag, but Mary was up to some really witchy stuff in the White House.
Andrew Jackson playing a violin. It's a little bit odd, don't you think?
Let me show you guys a video and let's talk about it.
What?
So obviously that video is some sort of render in a lady in a white dress. But I want to talk about the fact that this lady in the white dress and the black hair over her face is so popular among ghost stories. Seeing a woman on the side of the road in a white dress with a ghostly aura around her has been dated back all the way until the 1600s. The first reported sighting of this was in Germany back in the 1600s, and this is global, so literally every single culture, every single region has this version of this. And it's always a lady in a white dress and black hair. One of the most popular versions of this is actually in the Philippines. A lady will stand on the road by some sort of tree. She'll be waiting for you to scare the life out of you. She'll even be calling for taxis, appearing in your back seat, and she's actually blamed for a ton of road accidents. This is also popular. I'm sure you guys have seen the video from Saudi Arabia. These people are driving in a desert. A lady in a white dress appears and is chasing them down. But let me know what you guys think about this urban legend in the comment section below. And comment for what you want to see next.
This guy claims he's from the future.
My name is Adam Archon, and I am a time traveler.
Adam Archon claims to be a time traveler from the year 2045. So he was sat down for a lie detector test, and every question he was asked came true. Most of the questions were about 2045, and what he said was disturbing, yet kind of interesting. He claimed that everyone would have chips in their hand for identification and payment.
I do have an implanted chip in my hand known as the One.
Now what's crazy is that's already happening now already. He also claims that the world will be ruled under one law, one world order.
In 2030, all of the world's countries converge into one supernation.
And that in his time, they successfully cloned and regenerated dinosaurs and have dinosaur zoos. This is interesting because already right now, they are starting the process of bringing back woolly mammoths.
It is true that aliens did land on Earth in August 2028.
So what do you think? Is he lying?
I feel like if you are a true time traveler, you're kind of here with a purpose. And I don't think bragging that you in time travel is one of those purposes. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my thoughts.
This is why you shouldn't eat homemade meals from the provinces in the Philippines. When you are a traveler or a visitor in a certain province in the Philippines, some might tell you that you should not accept foods a local family offers. You see, the food you just consumed is a dish that is something taboo, perhaps a mythical creature, or even more horrifying, a dish made from human flesh. After eating the dish, you are cursed or bound to the area forever. But this gets creepier. Ever heard of Tik or aswang? In Filipino folklore, they are shapeshifters, capable of transforming into animals or even humans. Their preferred delicacy is human flesh, especially unborn children. Some of these dishes might contain parts of these creatures, and by consuming them, you became a marked target or cursed. The Philippines is home to great dishes.
I mean, if you go to a different country, I don't think you should really just take food from people like that. That's a little bit strange. You know, if you really want food, go out to a restaurant or make it yourself.
There was this story about the Santa Muerte, right? There was this lady, her name was Teresa, and she was in jail because she had committed some crimes and shit like that, bro. And she wanted to get the fuck out of jail, bro, because she had to be in there 60 plus years. So out of nowhere, her friends from the outside bring her this big ass box, and inside this big ass box
was the Muerte statue.
Exactly. So this whole time, like, she would pray to La Muerte every single day, like, yo, like, I'm trying to be free, I'm trying to be free. Give blood, literally, like, cut herself. Until one day, she said it out loud, bro.
What the fuck
she heard? She was like, can you just set me free already? I did everything for you. I prayed for you every day. I gave you my blood. If you want, you can take my soul. And I want to be free, though.
Oh, my gosh.
And they do say that whenever you promise something to La Muerte, bro,
you have to do it, yeah.
You have to do it, bro.
Yeah.
She's going to give you what you want, but you have to come through with your side of the deal as well. So next thing you know, a guy with a nice ass suit comes and says you're free. She signs her freedom papers, whatever. Weeks later, it turns out that a woman was found mutilated, badly hurt and stuff, and the murderer and shit ended up going to the jail that she went to, and he ended up saying that Teresa was the one who was brutally mutilated and murdered, bro.
I kind of saw it coming because he said that, I'll give you my soul.
Nah, selling your soul to me is a little bit strange because that contract is basically meaning you're gonna die. Like, your soul is owned to another person. When they want to take that, they can take it whenever they want.
3 of the most disturbing police sketches and the chilling backstories behind them. Number 1, the handyman. On the night of June 5th, 2002, 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart was abducted from her bed at knife point by this man. Her little sister was right in the same room pretending to sleep while everything went down. The immediate suspect was a handyman who had worked on the house just a few months prior. Despite being chilling, that sketch actually led investigators on a credible tip that took them to Brian Mitchell and his wife, where they had been keeping Elizabeth in remote captivity for 9 months. Number 2, the newborn woman. On March 10th, 2007, at 1:20 in the morning, an unknown woman was seen roaming the hospital floor at Lakeside Hospital. Dressed as a nurse in scrubs, she abducted a newborn baby girl that night and then seemingly disappeared. Through anonymous tips, she was located within 48 hours, but the way she was able to scour the hospital and evade security remains completely unknown. Number 3, Lime Lady. This actually isn't a sketch of a suspect, but a victim. In 1980, the body of an unknown woman was discovered by 2 fishermen near a river. She had been covered in quicklime in an effort to decompose her, but it actually counteracted and she was preserved. For more than 40 years, she remained an an unknown woman, and this sketch was a haunting reminder of her missing identity. But in 2020, DNA evidence was finally able to identify her as 20-year-old Tamara Lee Tagard, who went missing while on a walk.
Now that's why it's scary. You can go for a walk and just end up missing like that. And that's crazy how they thought that that substance that they put on her body would have actually decomposed her body faster, but instead it preserved it. That's some karma shit.
Alright guys, let's talk about Click Clack. This is an urban legend about a woman who had her body cut in half by a terrible car accident. The story starts out with a mother taking her son and daughter to the mall. On the way to the mall, all of a sudden the car got stuck on the train tracks and the train was approaching way too fast. So the train plowed straight into the car. When police were searching through the wreckage, they found the dead bodies of the two kids. What they didn't find was the top half of the mother. They only found her two legs at the scene of the accident. Now, shortly after this, a string of murders happened in a small town nearby. All of the victims were children in schoolyards or playgrounds. Soon, the children started telling each other what was happening. And this is where we get the name Click Clack from. Her long nails would make a click clack sound when she was pouncing towards them. Other than schools and playgrounds, when the children were home, Click Clack would come out after 6 p.m. So all the children and everyone in the town were warning each other to not go out after 6 p.m. If Click Clack caught a child out after 6 p.m., she would rip them in half. Let me know what you guys think about this story.
My thoughts about that story is like that. It was definitely a folklore that the parents told their kids so their kids don't go out past a certain time and they go to sleep on time. I swear to God, that's definitely what that is.
This is how we learned how long a head can survive without a body. At this time, the guillotine was a really popular way of punishment in France. And in 1905, a French doctor, I'm so sorry if I butcher this, Dr. Beauriot, wanted to figure out just how long a head could survive once it was... So this doctor decided that he was going to go to the next public execution and he was going to try an experiment. And that day, a man by the name of Henry Languille was set for execution. Again, I am so sorry if I don't pronounce any of these names right. Please feel free to correct me in the comments. And the doctor sat front row and center to try out his experiment. After it happened, the doctor began to take notes on what was happening to Henry. At first, the doctor noticed that Henry's eyelids were kind of fluttering, but that wasn't enough. He waited a couple of moments, and then when the eyes weren't fluttering anymore, he proceeded with the next phase. The doctor called out Henry's name and noticed that as soon as he did, the eyelids lifted a little bit and he looked right at him. Not only did Henry's eyes look up at him, but his pupils actually ended up focusing, and the doctor knew that he was looking directly at him. He said that when he looked into Henry's eyes, he was not looking at a dull expression, but of someone who was still living. But after a few seconds, the eyelids closed. So the doctor called Henry's name again, and once more, the eyelids opened, and he looked right at him. The doctor was convinced that he was looking at a living person. But finally, the eyelids closed for a second time, and when the doctor yelled his name for a third time, there was no response. The doctor noted the time, and he saw that the experiment had lasted for a total of 30 seconds. And that is why we know just how long a human head can survive without a body.
It actually is a true experiment, but that's crazy. Just think about that. You get beheaded, and then all of a sudden you're still focusing. You know how crazy that must be? You get beheaded and you're still alive?
I'm gonna give you 3 seconds to try to guess what's happening in this video. It's gonna sound crazy, but people are saying that this light flickering is a desperate plea from a ghost. Let me explain. So this is the Halcyon House, and it's one of the most haunted houses in Washington, D.C. I talk about it in this week's episode, but this house used to be owned 120 years ago by a man named Albert. Albert went mad in the house and got into some really dark stuff. He thought if he ever stopped working on the house, he would die, so he hired a man to just continuously be working on the house. And he built whatever he could. He doubled the size of the house. He built stairways that went nowhere. There was even a door on the top floor that just opened out into the air. Albert was this huge collector, so he would buy Greek statues and mummies and just live in the house amongst his collection. Eventually, Albert does die, and when he does, he has some really strange final requests. He wants to be buried on the property, he wants a wooden stake driven through his heart, and he wants a promise that electricity will never be installed. But none of his requests were ever fulfilled, and now people say that this light flickers because it's Albert trying to turn off the electricity.
I'm trying to figure out, what did electricity do to Albert? I love electricity. We watching this right now because of electricity.
Please keep me anonymous. So I've been suffering from sleep paralysis for quite a while, and would like to talk about one of my recent experiences. On this night, I had slept over at my godbrother's house. I ended up going to sleep late, but thought I was going to be okay because I'm not at my house and I'm sleeping with someone tonight. That night, I woke up not being able to move and seeing the devil in its true form, Baphomet. While I was staring at Baphomet, I felt my soul leave my body and begin to circle around the room. I remember seeing a glowing red pentagram in the room, and it was so big that it went through the walls. Suddenly, I go back to myself and see Baphomet having its hands on my stomach while slowly looking towards me. Then out of nowhere, I broke free and everything suddenly went back to normal. But I was covered in sweat, and I know it was sleep paralysis again and not a dream, because I knew I was there and I was in the same spot where I had fallen asleep, and exactly how I ended up falling asleep, with the curtains open and the door closed. Ever since then, I always go to sleep knowing that at some point I might see Baphomet again.
Sleep paralysis is a really tough thing. I never personally really had sleep paralysis, but I know a couple people that did. If you ever have sleep paralysis, let me know your story down in the comments.
Who states that he had just recently
dog sees a ghost and gets terrified.
Place, and not too long afterwards, his dog Missy started behaving in a strange and bizarre manner. She would often stare down the dark hallway with her hair raising and standing up on her back, while barking and occasionally taking a sudden step back in fear of something unseen. On one day he is at his desk when he hears Missy barking in the corner of the extra room, so he decides to record the event. This is what he captured.
Missy. 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 What is it? Missy!
You can see Missy seems to be fixated with something in the corner of the room, something unseen that is causing her to bark and growl, as if she felt threatened. So did this dog see something her owner couldn't? A similar video was uploaded to the YouTube channel Not Your Average Wife. The family explained that they can feel something strange in the basement, and they don't really like to go down there. But what makes this all the more creepy is that their German Shepherd dog seems to share the same thoughts in refusing to go down the stairs to the basement. Watch closely.
Alright guys, I'm going to show you one of the reasons we hate this house. This is the stairway to my basement. And this is our beautiful German Shepherd, Catherine. She refuses to come down these stairs. Catherine, come on, baby. Come on, pretty. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, Catherine. Come on, baby. Come on, Catherine. No, she won't do it. But to prove to you that it's not that she's just afraid of stairs, we've got two other sets of stairs in this house that she's perfectly fine to go up and down, and I'm going to show you. Please excuse this mess. This is basically my daughter's playroom. So, see these steps. Look, look. I don't even have to tell her to go up them. Come on, Catherine. Come on. She's not afraid of stairs, guys. She's just afraid of the basement stairs.
The dog seems to be completely frightened to even go through the doorway, let alone go down the stairs to the basement. So perhaps she can sense something down there that remains unseen. What do you guys think? Did these dogs see a ghost?
I mean, I know dogs are really good at sensing stuff like that, so it possibly could be. Like, no matter what, both of those dogs did feel or see something or smell something. Who knows?
One day, me and my brothers and a group of their friends, they were all older than me, were having a sleepover. It started getting really boring, so we decided to think of stuff we could do. We came up with this one plan to go to the cerro, off-road areas, in the middle of the night, and we all agreed to that. We drove there and parked the truck, and we started walking into the dark cerro with no light. When we were walking, we see two white trucks flying down the mountain, so my brother told me to go prone, and so we all did. As we're laying there, we realized they had driven past us, so we decided to head back so we wouldn't get in trouble. But that's when things got bad. As we were walking back to our friend's truck, we see a goat, which was really weird since no rancheros lived around here. I asked my brother if he saw the goat, and he said that's just a normal goat, and as we got closer, the goat got on 2 legs and started to chase us. It was tall, with red eyes, and was walking on 2 legs. Thank God we got back safely.
What type of goat is that?
Teletubbies were inspired by 4 psychotic children, tortured in 1995 in a Bulgarian asylum called La La Land. It's the most disturbing conspiracy theory about the creation of this creepy show. And in the end, you will understand the true, dark origin of the word Teletubbies. In 1995, 4 children who died on the same day are said to have inspired the characters. Lala, a little girl, spent years incommunicado, her skin yellowing from lack of sunlight. Tohote, known as Tinky Winky, was deaf and had a facial deformity. The asylum caretakers left him out in the cold, which made his skin permanently blue from insults. Donka, known as Eudipsy, unable to speak, suffered from a congenital defect and always vomited life. Hippolina Poe tells us that she was thrown into the fire by drunken keepers, who mistook her for a log of wood, and she suffered severe burns. Despite this mistreatment, they smiled. Television was the only comfort these 4 children had. The director ordered the removal of all TV sets for 1 night due to the high cost of electricity. That same night they were found dead with their stomachs open and their televisions inside, after having tried to hide them by swallowing them. Hence the name, the Teletubbies. All of them would have died smiling.
I heard about that Teletubbies one before. That is so strange to me. And how do you mistake a child for a piece of log to throw in a fire? That don't even make sense.
What I'm about to share with you will blow your mind. I am going to share a sound recorded by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, called Julia. According to NOAA, the source of the sound was most likely a large iceberg that had run aground off Antarctica. However, pictures from NASA's Apollo 33 A5 mission show a large shadow swaying through the southwest section of Cape Codre at the same time as the recorded sound. Those pictures, which are still classified, apparently provide information suggesting that this unknown shadow was twice the size of the Empire State Building. Here is the original sound.
The ocean is so unknown, we have no idea what's down there. Apparently they said between 5 to 6% of the ocean has been explored. So I wonder what's good with the other 95%. Like, what do you think could possibly be in the bottom of the ocean? Skinwalker caught in the transformation process.
Can you hold the fucking light straight?
This isn't a normal horse. I've looked up a weird situation like this. It's actually a skinwalker trying to form itself like an animal.
Hello. She wants to come inside.
Whoa. Why is there just a goat at your door? I don't really have any explanation for any of those.
3 famous celebrities that are now ghosts. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was found dead on August 4th, 1962, and some say she still haunts the Brentwood home where her body was found. There are claims of Marilyn being seen in the mirrors of the home. Still checking out her beauty, I guess. Lucille Ball. Known for her beloved character in I Love Lucy, the mansion where Lucille Ball took her last breath is believed to be haunted. Unexplained noises and even furniture being moved on its own has been reported. She apparently also likes to visit the studio where I Love Lucy was filmed. Walt Disney. Walt Disney is believed to be one of the many ghosts that haunt Disneyland. There is even video of what some believe to be Walt's ghost walking along one of the pathways around Disneyland.
Honestly, Disneyland is so amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if Walt Disney just still walks around and roams it, although he's gone.
A window to the soul. So this is a story that starts weird and just gets weirder. But first, a little bit of history. Way back in 1679, Irish Catholic priest Oliver Plunkett was arrested for supporting the Catholic faith, which at the time was considered a serious criminal offense by the English monarchy. He was held in Newgate Prison in London before being executed. And so here's where things get really weird. Over 240 years later, in 1921, Oliver Plunkett's head, yes, just his head, was brought to St. Peter's Church in Drogheda, Ireland, where it was put on display in a garish, ornately decorated glass box. The St. Peter's Church also placed on display the prison door of Oliver Plunkett's jail cell from Newgate Prison, where Plunkett was held for 8 months before his execution. YouTube user Vicky Bramshaw was on vacation when she visited St. Peter's Church in Drogheda, Ireland. She is recording the exhibit of Oliver Plunkett's jail cell door when she catches something absolutely unnerving.
This is the door of the cell in Newgate Prison, where St. Oliver Plunkett was imprisoned for 8 months.
He's a very most interesting figure, because he was one of the first ecumenical Christian priests.
There is a small opening in the ancient jail cell door, and some pale, ghostly face just seems to peek out of it at them. Vicky says she has no idea what this face could be. She says she has no knowledge of visual effects to fake something like this, and she didn't even notice the face until she reviewed her footage later. So is this the ghost of Oliver Plunkett still peering from his old jail cell door? Or is it just a very, very odd trick of the light? You decide.
In my head, I'm thinking that might just be a rodent. Like, that really could just be like a rat, you know, just like something that might have been caught up in the door. I'm not sure, but his head on display is a little bit crazy. I remember them saying that. I was like, what?
Today we are talking about the Louisville goat man, the Pope Lick monster. This part man, part sheep, part goat cryptid is probably one of the scariest things outside of Louisville. Now, he has been said to roam around the Pope Lick trestle, which rides over the Pope Lick Creek. This is about 90 feet tall, but is responsible for more than 4 deaths from people dying from oncoming trains. Now, the origin of the Pope Lick monster is still a bit of mystery, but people believe it has to deal with a farmer and his dealings with the devil. Other people theorize it is a product of bestiality, but no one can say for sure. Now, some of the lore says that this monster uses mimicry and or hypnosis to lure people onto the trestle, and then they become stuck while an oncoming train takes their life. Now, the local government actually had to issue warnings to people to stop looking for the Pope Lick monster because tragedies were happening on the Pope Lick trestle of people passing away as they get hit by an oncoming train. Damn. Have you ever had an encounter with the Pope Lick monster? Tag a friend and let them know about this scary creature in Kentucky.
It's a little bit scary how people will go out their ways to look for monsters and like folklores and stuff like that. Me personally, nah.
This is still one of the craziest true crime stories I have ever heard of. Greg Flanagan was described as a kind and compassionate man. His friends said that he would not only give the shirt off his back, he would also give the shoes off his feet. Greg lived in Lafayette, Louisiana, but he would often travel to Beaumont, Texas. I know I said it wrong. Go ahead and correct me in the comments. For work. He and his brother had started an oil company that was massively successful. So during the weekends, he would travel home to be with his wife in Lafayette, and then he would go back to Beaumont during the week and stay at the Elegante Hotel. Greg was very much a creature of habit. Anytime he got to his hotel room, he would crank up the AC, get a couple candy bars because he had a sweet tooth, lay on the bed and watch TV and smoke a lot of cigarettes. And every morning he would call his wife on his way to work. Any change in this schedule would be very unusual. On September 16th of 2010, Greg's wife did try calling him when he should have been on his way to work. When he didn't answer, she knew something was very wrong, so she tried calling his coworkers, hoping that maybe he had gone into work early that day, but when they hadn't seen him, she asked that they go to his hotel room and check on him. And when they got to the hotel room and knocked on the door and there was no answer, they knew something was very wrong. They had the hotel manager open up the door, and that's when they found Greg's body. Police started investigating immediately. This is where the case gets super weird. The hotel room didn't look like there had been a struggle inside. Greg still had his ring. He still had his wallet, which had $1,000 cash inside of it. So robbery was very quickly ruled out. The rest of the guests were interviewed and nothing seemed amiss. None of the other guests said that they saw or heard anything. So police started checking into Greg's past and seeing if there was someone that was out to get him, but there just wasn't anybody. Greg was someone that got along with everyone and he was just kind. As far as Greg's body, it seemed perfectly intact. Apart from an abrasion on his cheek, it looked like he got out of bed and fell down and he got rug burn on his cheek. So not long into this investigation, his body was released to the coroner, and this is where things get even weirder. Apart from the abrasion on his cheek, the coroner only noticed a small abrasion on his scrotum. But once he looked deeper into Greg's body, he saw severe trauma. The coroner said that he only saw trauma like this in victims of car accidents or if something very heavy had fallen on somebody. He had a laceration on his liver, he had several broken ribs, and he even had a hole in his heart.
Damn.
The coroner said this could only have happened from a severe beating. And yet the outside of Greg's body looked completely fine. I'll get into more in part 2.
When she said hole in his heart, I was like, yo, how does the outside of your body fine, but your ribs are broken, your heart has a hole in it? That's a weird story.
10 things you shouldn't be doing during the Hungry Ghost Festival. Number 1, do not stay out late at night. The ghosts roaming around get stronger with the yin energy from the moon at night, so when you walk around, you have higher chances of getting possessed. Number 2, you should not wait at the bus stop alone at night. Ghosts require transport too, and they have a special bus waiting for them. So when you're waiting alone, there are chances the ghost might follow you back home. Number 3, you shouldn't travel or go on a vacation during the 7th month. When you travel during the 7th month, there are chances of you getting bad luck. Number 4, you shouldn't be standing near water bodies. Walking near water bodies might allow the vengeful spirits to drag you into the water, replacing them. Number 5, do not pick up strange things on the floor. Even if you find money, try not to pick it up during the 7th month as it might belong to a ghost. Number 6, do not look behind at night. If you feel a sudden coldness, there might be a ghost behind you, so stay calm and walk ahead. Number 7, if you feel like someone is calling your name, do not respond or turn behind. The Chinese believe that there are 2 torches of light on your shoulders, so when you turn back, there will be an imbalance of yin and yang, allowing the ghost to attack you. And when you answer them when they call their name, you are actually giving them permission to enter your body. Number 8, try not to have bangs during the 7th month. The Qi energy, otherwise known as life energy, is concentrated on your forehead, so when you get bangs, you're actually blocking the Qi energy, allowing ghosts to enter your body easily. Number 9, avoid wearing heels at night. By wearing heels, you're actually being elevated from the ground, allowing ghosts from the underworld to attack you. Lastly, do not shave or cut your hair during the 7th month. The Chinese believe that every strand of hair protects you from ghosts, so when you cut your hair or shave your hair, you're actually decreasing your chance of protection from ghosts.
It's actually a very interesting perspective right there. Can't have bangs because it blocks out right here and you might get infected by ghosts. I wonder, what do you think about that? Put that down in the comments.
This town in Queensland is said to be haunted by the ghost of a grey lady. These are the ghost stories from our own backyard. So sit down, dim the lights, as I tell you about the Grey Lady of Roma. The idea of a grey lady ghost is not uncommon, but this story is particularly strange. Roma is a rural town located in Queensland. In the late 1800s and before his death in 1922, James Laylor was an important part of the Roma community. He was the owner of the Gubba Ramunda station. In the late 1800s, James Laylor gave a man who worked for him permission to build on his land. That man's name was Mr. Bonner. The land was located behind the Roma Hospital, and Mr. Bonner built a small cottage for him and his wife. And the locals took quite an interest in Miss Bonner. She was described as expressionless, and was often seen wearing a grey dress. However, the Bonners completely disappeared one day, leaving food in their pantry and their cat behind. For a while, the cottage behind the Roma Hospital remained empty, until a man named Johnson moved in with his family. And things began to get really strange. The family said that there was an eerie atmosphere in the cottage, as though there was a presence that moved about, silent and unseen. One of Johnson's daughters, Tilly, became extremely ill and had to go to hospital for an operation. And when she got home, she was put to bed immediately, covered in bandages. The next morning, she was described as being agitated and confused, and said that during the night she had been visited by a grey lady, and that the lady told her to take off all her bandages if she wanted to get well. The day went by until the afternoon when her mother came back to check on her. She was found unconscious in her blood-soaked bed with her bandages removed. She unfortunately passed away before the doctor arrived. But the tale of the grey lady does not end there. Around the same time of Tilly's passing, her older sister was leaving the house on a date. As they were leaving, the young man had a sudden urge to look back at the cottage, and stood at the cottage in the moonlight was the grey lady staring back at him. He immediately bolted away, getting stuck in barbed wire in the process. The family then moved out after becoming terrified of the grey lady ghost. Since then, the grey lady ghost has been spotted by many of the locals, walking towards the hospital in the area of where the old cottage once stood.
They were just digging up the weeds when they see this. A man named Gus has been anonymously documenting a series of hauntings that have been tormenting him and his family. Ever since they moved into that house, they have been hearing voices late at night and waking up with inexplicable scratch marks. But one day, as Gus and his son are pulling weeds outside, underneath the soil, they make a horrifying discovery. Human skeletal remains are dug up, and as they do, something begins to frantically knock on the window. But no one seems to be there. Gus contacted the authorities and will later uncover that the skeletal remains were buried alongside witchcraft items.
I look and wonder how you know what items are witchcraft items. Just a thought.
Brad Pitt might be one of the most powerful actors in the world, but it's not helping his home life because now he's being trashed by his children. Brad Pitt and his ex-wife Angelina Jolie do have 6 children together, 3 born biologically and 3 adopted. There was an FBI probe done against Brad Pitt because of an incident that happened with him and Angelina Jolie on their private jet heading to France, where Brad Pitt grabbed her head, slammed her against a bathroom door while his children were watching. Brad Pitt started shouting at Angelina Jolie, saying she won't take his children away from him, and then also threatened to fight his children if they were to fight back. Now there's been a resurfaced Father's Day post from Brad Pitt's son Pac saying he's a highly abusive father, a complete psychopath, and one of the worst dads he could possibly imagine. At the same time, Brad Pitt's daughter Sahara Pitt reveals she'll no longer be using Pitt as her last name, instead using Angelina Jolie's last name because she hates her father. It just makes sense seeing how Pac said Angelina Jolie is the only parent that cares about them, and Brad Pitt hates his 4 younger children, which 3 of them happen to be adopted. And Pac said the only reason he deleted the story going against his father was because he was afraid it was going to happen with his father being angry. And now it's been revealed Brad Pitt hasn't seen some of his adopted kids in years, and with that, I'm Charles Peralta. Subscribe if you learned something.
Nah, that's crazy. I didn't even know Brad Pitt was a bad dude. I thought it was always chill. But let's see. They did show what the son said about his father. Let's read that right now. He said, "Happy Father's Day to this world-class a-hole. You time and time again prove yourself to be a terrible and despicable person. You have no consideration or empathy towards your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear when in your presence. You will never understand the damage you have done to my family because you are incapable of doing so." That's crazy. Imagine saying that about your own father on Father's Day. I wonder how he felt about that. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked the video, please like the video and subscribe. Remember, get yourself some of these chains as a Christmas gift for your family or your friend. Thank you guys for watching. Check out the next video. It has Michael Jackson. Is he still alive? Who knows? Check it out. Peace out, boys.